4.6 billion years ago, before Earth or the planets existed, there was only a freezing, formless cloud of dust drifting in the void. Under its own immense gravity, that cloud collapsed. The pressure triggered a violent cosmic reaction, compressing matter and energy to forge an entirely new spatial landscape out of the chaos. This 10-part series by American Education Tech explores the direct result of that creation, our solar system. Over billions of years, the initial destructive violence of that collapse settled into a precise gravitational balance, leaving us with the remarkably stable planetary neighborhood we occupy today. At the heart of that settling dust, a single core ignited, giving birth to the anchor of our entire system. Episode 2 explores this undisputed gravitational king. The Sun is an engine of nuclear fusion, with massive plasma loops so large they could swallow dozens of Earths in an instant. That intense, radiant heat pushes outward into the freezing vacuum, dictating the atmospheric and physical conditions of every single object caught in its orbit. We will take an outward odyssey, starting right here at this blazing core and traveling progressively toward the coldest edges of the outer dark. Understanding the Sun is the prerequisite for understanding the worlds that surround it. A planet's exact distance from this central fire strictly determines its destiny. Moving rapidly away from the heat source, Episode 3 tackles the closest, tightest orbits. Mercury and Venus are scorched, barren environments, locked in a constant state of thermal extreme. Right past them lies the narrow Goldilocks zone. Episode 4 brings us to Earth, a highly anomalous sphere of liquid water and breathable atmosphere suspended in the black void. In that exact same orbit sits our nearest neighbor. The desolate, cratered landscape of the Moon served as humanity's first physical stepping stone away from our home world. Pushing further outward, Episode 5 lands on Mars. Today, it appears as a dry, red desert, but the geology reveals a rich history of ancient rivers and flowing water. That wet history poses a massive question. Could this world still support life, and can it serve as a future home for human expansion? This tight inner ring of rocky worlds represents the only solid ground in the entire system where biological life has any known chance to survive. Crossing the boundary of the main asteroid belt, the terrain shifts entirely. The solid ground ends, replaced by domains of crushing gravity and endless atmospheric storms. Episode 6 tackles Jupiter, the largest mass in the system. Its swirling banded atmosphere sweeps up rogue cosmic debris, keeping the inner system clear of danger. Moving outward, Episode 7 reveals Saturn, a gas giant defined by its structural beauty and the massive, distinct diagonal shadow it casts across its horizontal rings. Billions of ice particles remain locked in a perfect, flat formation, a structure we will examine through the lens of the violent collisions and gravitational captures that defined the early system. By absorbing or deflecting millions of incoming comets and asteroids, these colossal outer giants act as vital gravitational shields for the fragile inner planets. Pushing further out into the dark, freezing edges of the Sun's reach, Episode 8 explores the isolated ice giants, Uranus and Neptune. Despite sitting nearly 3 billion miles from the Sun's heat, Neptune hosts a vibrant blue atmosphere, ripped apart by some of the fastest supersonic winds ever recorded. Beyond the major planetary orbits lies Episode 9. Here we find Pluto, a distant, frozen dwarf planet, marked by a distinct light-colored heart of nitrogen ice. Expanding past Pluto, we hit the true boundaries of our system, the densely packed debris of the Kuiper belt, and the vast, mysterious icy shell of the Oort cloud. The frigid environment at these far edges preserves the chemical signatures of the early nebula, holding the same undisturbed materials present at the solar system's birth. The physical mechanics of these planets are only half the story. The other half is our absolute, relentless drive to reach them. Episode 10 looks forward. We examine the future of the solar system, the upcoming leaps in propulsion technology, and how spacecraft will soon accelerate away from our home world and deeper into the void. By decoding the history of these atmosphere strip of worlds and frozen deserts, we gain the data required to understand what keeps our own planet habitable. The solar system exists as an active, evolving frontier where every discovery about planetary resources or orbital stability directly shapes our prospects for long-term expansion. If you have ever looked up at the night sky and wanted to know exactly what is out there, then join American Education Tech on this incredible outward odyssey. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss a single step of the journey. But before we can chart our future, we have to travel backward in time to the very center of the primordial dust. To understand where we are going, we first have to witness our origin. Let's begin Episode 1, the birth of the solar system.